Yo guys, welcome back to a brand new video. Today, I want to dive into how you can loot your gear at the end of greater rifts and while you're opening bounty bags much faster. So this trick is actually really practical for a lot of things in Diablo 3. First, let's go ahead and set up your key bindings. You'll want to go into options, and then you'll go into key bindings, and you'll want to scroll down until you get to force move. You're going to want to set this to both mouse wheel up and mouse wheel down. We'll get into that in just a minute. Now, once you have that set up, if you try to run around a little bit with your character, you'll see that little dot, which is basically equivalent to each time I'm clicking. By using force move, we can get so many more clicks in so much faster. And so we're going to be using this to loot our gear. Now, if you use force move to pick up anything, it's actually designed to not pick up things intentionally. Ultimately, the purpose of force move is to ignore anything that you're clicking on, and the goal is only to move your character, but we can disable that. So what you'll want to do is you'll want to hold down left click and scroll as you run by. So you're going to be moving like you normally would, but then you're going to start scrolling as well. So let's go ahead and dive into a quick example by opening up all of these bounty bags. With each of them open on the ground, once again, you're going to hold left click and scroll over everything. If you compare that to clicking, this is so much faster. Now, I will note that it does take a little bit of time to get used to, because the problem with it is while we're using it, we have to be moving. So this does take quite a bit of practice to get it down. At first, it may feel like you're almost looting things a little slower because you're running all over the place and it feels a little hectic, but you will get used to it. Once you've practiced enough, it'll start to feel easy. But let's go ahead and dive into a few more examples of how force move can be a useful mechanic. So when we encounter enemies in Diablo 3, of course, if we're clicking around and trying to get from place to place, but we're accidentally clicking on enemies and killing them, we can actually avoid this. Now, of course, for simple things like bounties, this is not going to be particularly useful, but when you're doing greater rifts and you're pulling large packs of enemies together, it can be a little difficult to maneuver your character if there's so many enemies on the screen. You may be accidentally shooting off a lot of shots when you're actually trying to pull more enemies together and move your character. So in the example that we had just shown, I was clicking everywhere, and of course, each time I clicked on an enemy, it did kill them. But let's go ahead and use force move around these other enemies, and you can see that I'm not shooting them. I set the difficulty to normal, and my scoundrel is absolutely doing work. That was not intended, but good for him. It's nice to actually see your follower do damage for once. So in this next segment, we're going to talk about how you can use force move while you're playing a spin to win build to continue moving so that you don't have to stop when you see a legendary drop on the ground. Stopping and picking up legendaries as they drop in Torment 16 is a little bit slow. Now again, this does take quite a bit of practice to get used to. You'll often miss the legendary when you're trying to loot it for your first few tries, but keep practicing and you'll get it down. So what you're going to want to do when you see a legendary item drop is you're going to want to stop spinning, hold left click instead while you continue to move, and then scroll your mouse wheel up and down over the item that dropped. This is also really useful for opening chests as you're going by so that you don't have to stop. You can go back around if you see a legendary item drop. Well guys, that just about does it. There's not really too much to cover with regards to force move. I would highly recommend that you try to implement it into your gameplay so that you're not accidentally getting stuck when you're trying to pull monsters together, and also for when you finish bounties or greater rifts, you can pick up your gear much quicker. If you happen to watch streams or other top players in this game, you'll often notice that they're always moving around with force move and they're barely actually clicking, unless of course their intent is to use the skill on their left click. Hopefully with enough practice, you can master this movement and get better control of your character. If you're already somebody who uses force move, go ahead and drop a comment down below and let other players know what your tips and tricks are for this setting. As always guys, I genuinely appreciate you for watching. Thank you so much, and we'll see you on the next one.